What if I told you that you're just 21 days away from a completely different life? That 3 weeks could separate you from the mediocrity that suffocates you every single day? Sounds impossible, right? But Miyamoto Musashi, the legendary samurai who won over 60 duels without ever losing a single one, discovered something that modern neuroscientists only confirmed centuries later. 21 days is the exact time your brain needs to completely reprogram your behavioral patterns, while you waste hours on your phone, complaining about the life that never changes. There's a method tested 400 years ago that can transform you into an unrecognizable version of yourself. Musashi didn't have technology, therapy, or self-help books. He had only brutal discipline and a system he called the Way of the Empty Sword. In the next few minutes, I'll reveal the exact protocol he used. But I warn you, this isn't for everyone. Only continue if you're willing to sacrifice yourself for 21 days. The alarm goes off. You hit snooze. 5 more minutes turn into 20. You finally drag yourself out of bed, already late, already stressed, already defeated before the day even begins. This is how most people live their entire lives, and they wonder why nothing ever changes. Musashi understood something profound. The first hour of your day determines everything that follows, not in some mystical, manifesting abundance kind of way. In a brutally practical sense, your morning sets the neurological pattern for the next 16 hours. Win the morning, win the day, lose the morning, and you're already swimming upstream. But here's what nobody tells you about his morning ritual. It wasn't about meditation apps or gratitude journals or green smoothies. It was about confronting yourself when you're at your weakest, when your willpower is depleted from sleep, when every fiber of your being wants to stay comfortable. The ritual begins the moment consciousness returns, not when you feel ready, not after you've checked your phone. The exact second your eyes open. This is the first test. Your body will scream for 5 more minutes. Your mind will generate 1,000 reasonable excuses. This is where 99% of people fail before they even start. Musashi would rise before dawn, in the coldest part of the morning. No gradual wake-up, no transition period. Instant presence. He understood that the gap between sleep and action is where weakness breeds. Every second you spend negotiating with yourself is a second you're training your brain to prioritize comfort over growth. The first physical action matters more than you think. Not scrolling, not checking messages, not even thinking about your day. Movement, immediate, deliberate, uncomfortable movement. Your body is stiff, your muscles are cold, perfect. This is exactly the point. You're teaching your nervous system that discomfort is not a reason to stop. Cold water comes next, not a warm shower that gradually gets cooler. Ice-cold water, immediately. Your body will revolt. Your breath will catch, your skin will scream. Good. This is the second test of the morning. Every cell in your body is designed to avoid this exact sensation. You're going to do it anyway. The cold water serves a purpose beyond toughness. It's a hard reset of your autonomic nervous system. Your brain was designed to respond to threats, and cold water triggers that ancient alarm system. Adrenaline floods your bloodstream. Cortisol spikes. Your mind becomes sharp and present in a way that no amount of coffee can replicate. But the real reason for the cold isn't biological. It's psychological. You're proving to yourself that you can do hard things, that your feelings don't control your actions, that the voice in your head that says this is too much is a liar. You're building evidence against your own weakness. After the cold, silence. Complete silence. No music, no podcasts, no news. No input of any kind. This is harder than it sounds in our noise-addicted world. Your mind will race, thoughts will flood in, anxieties about the day ahead, regrets about yesterday. Let them come. Don't fight them. Don't engage with them. Just observe. Musashi would sit in this silence for exactly 1 hour. Not meditating in the modern sense, not trying to clear his mind or achieve some peaceful state. Simply sitting with whatever arose, the discomfort, the boredom, the restlessness, all of it. This is where you discover what you're actually made of. During this hour, something happens that most people never experience. The constant chatter of your mind begins to separate from who you actually are. You start to notice that thoughts appear without your permission, that emotions arise and fall like waves, that none of it requires your participation or belief. This realization changes everything. You begin to see that the anxiety about your presentation isn't you. The anger at your circumstances isn't you. The fear of failure isn't you. These are just weather patterns moving through your consciousness. You are the sky, not the clouds. The final piece of the morning ritual is the hardest. Setting one intention for the day, not a to-do list, not goals or objectives. One single thing that matters more than everything else. One action that, if completed, would make the day worthwhile regardless of what else happens. This intention cannot be comfortable. It cannot be easy. It must be the thing you've been avoiding. The conversation you need to have. The project you've been delaying. The truth you need to speak. Whatever makes your stomach tighten when you think about it, that's your intention. Write it down, not on your phone. Physical paper, physical pen. The act of writing engages different neural pathways than typing. It makes the commitment real in a way that digital notes never can. Put this paper somewhere you'll see it throughout the day. Let it haunt you. Let it remind you why you started this. Now here's the part that separates this from every other morning routine you've tried. You take the first step toward that intention immediately. Not after breakfast. Not after you've eased into your day. Right now. Even if it's just 5 minutes of work. Even if it's just one email. Even if it's just opening the document. This creates momentum. Your brain releases dopamine when you make progress on meaningful goals. That chemical reward reinforces the behavior. You're literally reprogramming your neural circuitry to associate mornings with achievement instead of avoidance. By the time most people are hitting snooze for the third time, you've already won 3 battles. The battle to rise immediately, the battle against comfort in the cold water, the battle to sit with your own mind. These victories accumulate. They build a foundation of self-trust that nothing can shake. This is how you start the transformation. Not with motivation, not with inspiration, with a morning ritual so demanding that it leaves no room for the old version of yourself to survive. The person who can do this every morning for 21 days is not the same person who started. They can't be. Most people are terrified of silence. They fill every moment with noise. Music in the car, podcasts while working, television as background ambiance, scrolling feeds in every spare second. This constant stimulation isn't accidental. It's self-medication. It's running from something that silence would force you to face. Musashi discovered that external noise is a prison, not because sound itself is bad, but because it prevents you from hearing the signal underneath all the static. Your intuition, your deeper knowing, the truth about what you actually want versus what you think you should want. That voice gets drowned out by the endless input. The silence rule is simple but devastating. For the next 21 days, you eliminate all unnecessary noise from your life. No music unless you're actively listening to it, not using it as background filler. No podcasts during activities that don't require them. No television just because you're bored. No scrolling to avoid being alone with your thoughts. This sounds easy until you try it. The first day, you'll notice how often you reach for distraction. Waiting in line at the store, your hand moves toward your phone automatically. Driving to work, you instinctively turn on the radio. Cooking dinner, you feel the urge to put on a show. These impulses reveal how addicted you've become to avoiding yourself. What you're actually avoiding is discomfort. Not physical pain, but the psychological unease of being present with reality as it is. When you remove the noise, you're left with your actual life, your actual thoughts, your actual feelings. For many people, this is unbearable. They've spent years building elaborate distraction systems to avoid this exact confrontation. The silence forces you to process what you've been suppressing. That relationship that isn't working, that career path that feels wrong, that dream you abandoned because someone said it was impractical. These truths have been whispering to you for years, but you couldn't hear them over the noise. Now there's nowhere to hide. During the second week, something shifts. The silence stops feeling oppressive and starts feeling spacious. Your mind, no longer constantly reacting to external stimuli, begins to operate differently. Thoughts become clearer. Decisions become easier. The fog that you didn't even realize was there begins to lift. You start noticing things you've been blind to. The way your body feels after eating certain foods, the subtle tension in your shoulders when you're around certain people, the energy drain from commitments you don't actually care about. Silence makes you sensitive to signals you've been overriding for years. This heightened awareness extends to your interactions. Without podcasts filling your commute, you notice your patterns of thought. Without music drowning out your feelings, you feel them fully. Without screens buffering you from boredom, you discover that boredom is actually the birthplace of creativity. The rule also applies to speech. This is where it gets truly difficult. You stop talking just to fill awkward pauses. You stop offering opinions on things you know nothing about. You stop complaining, because complaining is just noise dressed up as communication. You speak only when you have something worth saying. This transforms your relationships overnight. People are so accustomed to empty chatter that your silence makes them uncomfortable. Some will think you're angry, others will think you're rude. A few will recognize that you're simply present in a way most people never are. These few are worth keeping around. Your coworkers will notice the change. They're used to you participating in gossip, in pointless speculation, in circular conversations that go nowhere. When you stop contributing to the noise, some will be relieved. Others will be threatened. People who live in distraction feel judged by those who don't. But here's what happens when you stop adding to the noise. You create space for signal, the meaningful conversations, the important questions, the truths that only emerge when there's room for them. Your words start to carry weight because they're rare. People listen when you speak because you've trained them to expect substance. The silence rule reveals who you actually are versus who you've been performing as. Most of your personality is just reaction to stimuli. Remove the stimuli, and what's left? This question terrifies people because the answer might be nothing. But for those brave enough to face it, the answer is usually everything. By week 3, the silence has become your ally. You've discovered that you don't need constant input to feel okay. That being alone with your thoughts isn't dangerous. That the voice in your head, when you actually listen to it without judgment, often knows exactly what you need to do. The world will seem different, louder, more chaotic. You'll notice how everyone around you is drowning in noise of their own creation. You'll see people scrolling mindlessly, talking aimlessly, consuming endlessly. You'll recognize it because you just escaped it. This rule connects directly to the morning ritual because silence is what allows you to hear the intention you set. Without the constant interference, you can stay aligned with what actually matters. The noise was keeping you scattered, reactive, pulled in 1,000 directions. The silence brings you back to center. Your body is lying to you. Right now, it's telling you that you've reached your limits, that you can't do more, that you need rest, that pushing harder would be dangerous. This is almost always false. What you're experiencing isn't your actual limit. It's the limit of your comfort zone, which is nowhere near your actual capacity. Musashi trained his body with a singular focus to make it incapable of quitting. Not stronger in the conventional sense, not more muscular or more flexible. Incapable of stopping when his mind told him to stop. This distinction is everything. Most training programs focus on building capacity. His focused on destroying the off switch. The training begins with something simple. Pick one physical activity that you can measure. Running, push-ups, holding a squat, anything quantifiable. On day 1, you do it until it becomes uncomfortable, not until failure, until uncomfortable. Note that number. Day 2, you do that number plus 1, just one more. Your body will protest. Your mind will say this is unnecessary. Do it anyway. Day 3, you add another 1. Every single day for 21 days, you increase by 1. This sounds trivial. It's not. By day 10, you're doing numbers that seemed impossible on day 1. But here's what's really happening. You're not building muscle or endurance, although those come as side effects. You're rewiring the relationship between discomfort and action. You're teaching your nervous system that discomfort is not a stop sign. The genius of this approach is its simplicity. You can't negotiate with yourself. You can't skip a day and make it up later. You can't do extra today to avoid tomorrow. The rule is absolute: every day, one more, no exceptions. This removes the decision fatigue that kills most training programs. Around day 12, something breaks. The voice that says, "This is enough," starts to get quieter. Not because the training gets easier. It doesn't. Because you've proven to yourself over and over that the voice is wrong. That you can, in fact, do one more. That your perceived limits are imaginary. This breakthrough extends beyond the training itself. You start noticing the same lying voice in other areas. It tells you that you can't have that difficult conversation, that you can't start that project, that you can't change your life. But you've spent 12 days proving it wrong. Why would you believe it now? The physical training serves as evidence. Undeniable, measurable evidence that you're capable of more than you think. On day 1, 20 push-ups felt impossible. On day 15, you're doing 35 without thinking about it. This isn't motivation, it's proof. But Musashi added another element that most people miss. The training had to happen at the worst possible time. Not when you felt energized and ready, when you were exhausted, when you had a dozen other things to do, when every rational part of you said to skip it just this once. This is the real training. Doing the work when you least feel like it, when your energy is low, when your motivation is gone, when no one would blame you for taking a break. This is where character gets forged. Anyone can train when they feel inspired. Warriors train especially when they don't. The worst time training also prevents you from building dependency on conditions. You don't need the perfect playlist. You don't need the right gear. You don't need to feel motivated. You just need to do the number. Rain or shine, sick or healthy, happy or miserable. The work happens regardless. By week 3, your body has adapted in ways you didn't expect. Not just stronger or faster, more honest. It stopped lying about what's possible. The sensation of discomfort no longer triggers automatic shutdown. You've created a new normal, where pushing past resistance is just what you do. This physical transformation mirrors the mental one from the silence rule. Both are teaching the same lesson from different angles. You are not your thoughts. You are not your feelings. You are not your comfort level. You are the one who decides what happens next regardless of any of that. The training also creates a daily win that nothing can take from you. You might fail at work. Your relationships might struggle. Your plans might fall apart. But you did your number. You increased by 1. You won the only battle that's entirely under your control. People will notice the change. Not because you're bigger or more fit, although that might happen. Because you carry yourself differently. There's a confidence that comes from knowing you can't be broken by discomfort. A presence that comes from having destroyed your own excuses day after day. This sets the foundation for what comes next. Because the morning ritual gave you control of your start, the silence rule gave you clarity of mind, and now the physical training has given you proof that you're capable of sustained transformation. These 3 elements compound. Each makes the others easier and more powerful. Every night before sleep, Musashi performed a ritual that most people would find morbid. He imagined his own death, not in a fearful or anxious way, methodically, completely. He visualized dying that night and examined his day through the lens of finality. If these were his last hours, did he live in a way that mattered? This practice destroys procrastination at its root. We delay difficult things because we assume we have time. Tomorrow, next week, someday. The daily death practice eliminates someday from your vocabulary. Someday might never come. In fact, statistically speaking, for some percentage of people reading this right now, someday won't come. They just don't know they're in that percentage yet. Start tonight. Lie in bed before sleep and genuinely consider that you might not wake up. This isn't being pessimistic. It's being realistic. People die in their sleep every single day. Young people, healthy people, people with plans and dreams and things left undone. What makes you different? When you truly sit with this possibility, trivial concerns evaporate. The argument you had becomes meaningless. The embarrassment you felt becomes irrelevant. The fear that stopped you from taking action becomes absurd. If you only had today, would you have spent it worrying about what strangers think of you? This daily practice forces brutal honesty about how you're spending your life. Did you work on what matters or what's easy? Did you have the conversation you've been avoiding? Or did you let another day pass in silence? Did you move toward your goals? Or did you distract yourself with comfortable nonsense? Most people never ask these questions because the answers are too painful. They're spending their lives on things that don't matter, and they know it. The daily death practice removes the luxury of denial. You have to look at the gap between who you are and who you could be, every single night. The first week of this practice is uncomfortable. You realize how many days you've wasted, how much time you've spent on activities you can barely remember, how many moments you were physically present but mentally absent. The weight of this realization can be crushing. But here's where it becomes powerful. Tomorrow, when you wake up, you get another chance. You didn't die. You have one more day. This is a gift that most people take for granted. They wake up expecting another day, feeling entitled to more time. You wake up grateful for the day you didn't earn and might not deserve. This gratitude isn't the shallow kind promoted in self-help books. It's not about being thankful for your coffee or your comfortable bed. It's a bone-deep recognition that you have been given an opportunity that countless others don't get. To do better, to be better, to matter. The daily death practice also changes how you interact with people. When you remember that every conversation could be the last one, you stop wasting time on superficial garbage. You say what needs to be said. You apologize for what needs apologizing. You express love to people who matter while they can still hear it. Musashi understood that death wasn't the enemy. Wasted life was the enemy. Death was simply the deadline that made life meaningful. Without it, nothing would matter. You could delay forever, procrastinate eternally. The fact that time runs out is what gives time value. By the second week, the practice starts to change your daily behavior. You catch yourself about to waste an hour, and remember that you might not have an hour to waste. You start to value your time differently. Not in a stressed, hurried way. In a deliberate, intentional way. You also become less afraid. This seems counterintuitive. Thinking about death every day should make you more afraid of it, right? The opposite happens. Familiarity breeds acceptance. When you face your mortality daily, it loses its power to paralyze you. Death becomes a companion that reminds you to live, not a monster to hide from. The practice reveals what actually matters, not what you think should matter or what others say matters. What genuinely matters to you when the illusion of infinite time is removed. For most people, this list is surprisingly short, maybe 3 to 5 things. Everything else is noise. This connects back to the morning intention. When you practice daily death, choosing your one thing becomes obvious. You know exactly what would make today matter if it's your last one. The silence rule helps you hear it. The physical training gives you the discipline to do it. The death practice gives you the urgency to do it now. By week 3, you've fundamentally altered your relationship with time. You no longer see it as an infinite resource to squander. You see each day as a contained opportunity with a hard deadline. This transforms how you move through the world. People will notice but won't understand why you've changed. You've stopped engaging in activities that don't serve your brief time here. You've stopped pretending to care about things you don't care about. You've stopped living like you have forever when you clearly don't. The death practice also prepares you for the final element of this transformation. Because once you've spent 20 days confronting your mortality, questioning your choices, and aligning with what matters, you're ready for the test that determines whether any of this was real. On day 21, everything you've built faces one enemy: the temptation to stop. Your old self makes a final attempt to reclaim control. It whispers that you've done enough, that you can relax now. This voice sounds reasonable. It's the most dangerous lie you'll hear. Here's the truth nobody tells you. Day 21 isn't the finish line. It's the real beginning. The first 20 days were just destroying who you were. Now you discover who you can become. The final test is simple, but brutal. Take the thing you've been avoiding even during these 20 days and do it. Today, not tomorrow, not when you're ready. The conversation you haven't had, the project you haven't started, the truth you haven't spoken, whatever terrifies you most, that's your test. This is where transformation becomes real. Anyone can follow a program for 3 weeks. Warriors do what their specific life demands. When you complete your personal test on day 21, the old identity dies. You become living proof that you're not who you thought you were. But here's the trap. Your mind will try to make this the end. You'll want to celebrate and coast. This is where most people lose everything they built. Because transformation isn't an event, it's a direction. Day 22 matters more than day 21. This is when you prove the change is permanent. The morning ritual continues. The silence continues. The training continues. The death practice continues. And you find new tests. Harder ones. What seemed impossible 3 weeks ago becomes your new baseline. This is how you know it worked. Your limits have been redefined. Most people transform once and spend their lives maintaining it. You transform continuously. These 21 days weren't about creating a new you. They were about becoming someone who transforms, not someone who transformed once, someone who dies to comfort daily and is reborn stronger. This is what awaits you. Not a better version of your old self. An entirely new self that your old self couldn't imagine. The question remains, are you willing to let the old you die to discover what's possible?